Get the Intel, the podcast meant for those of us trying to find out what the hell is going on in the field. Here we discuss tools, techniques, and approaches that you can implement to streamline operations and let you focus on your craft.
Hello, Chad Gill here. I'm the host of the Get the Intel podcast, where I talk with leaders in contracting, management, and really anyone helping us do business better. This episode is brought to you by Laminin Coaching. Laminin is a business coaching company with a focus on contractors in and around construction. We not only help with proposing solutions and methods, but implement them in your business as well. After all, good ideas are not useful until they're implemented. So if you're ready to elevate your business, visit us at laminincoach.com to see the full range of our services. Global Polishing Solutions is another sponsor of this podcast. GPS is an industrial and commercial concrete polishing, floor coating, and covering company with an ISNet World membership. GPS is capable of handling intricate projects from warehouses and data centers to designs for retail and commercial spaces. Explore our full range of services at globalpolishingsolutions.com today. So joining me today is Piyush Jain, a tech trailblazer with a remarkable journey. As founder and CEO of Simpalm, he's driven their custom mobile and web development company to the forefront of the industry. His day-to-day activities involve listening to clients' pain points, motivating his team, and leading key business initiatives and making sure everyone around him is happy. That's a tall order. With a PhD from Johns Hopkins, he's an expert in utilizing technology to solve problems, and his expertise spans mobile tech, Internet of Things, iOS, Android, and more. Notably, he just co-founded Ducknowl, revolutionizing hiring with a 70% reduction in screening time. His influence extends to thought leadership features in Forbes, Huffington Post, YEC, and more. His passion is to solve clients' problems using mobile and web technology, and he also loves to play golf and meet technology enthusiasts. So, Piyush, thank you for joining me. I know we had a couple of false starts on this, mostly my fault, or all my fault, but I appreciate you meeting with us and kind of seeing what we can find out about this recruiting software.
Well, thank you, Chad, for inviting me for this talk. And I'm very excited about this. So I guess thank you for such a wonderful intro. I can't do that myself for me. So that's great. Yeah. So just talking about Ducknowl, we came up with Ducknowl idea around 3.5 years ago, me and my partner. Because we were hiring people internally and we were facing a lot of challenges, especially, running the whole process. Recruitment is not easy. Like you think you have a job, you have the money to give to somebody. It's easy to hire. It's not. There are a lot of challenges that you have to go through. And we learned that in last 9-10 years. And, then me and my partner said, let's come up with a solution. We build products for others. We build products for our clients. We solve their problems. And here we see something. Why don't we build a solution that can solve this issue? Especially the interviewing, screening, and assessment process, right? And that's how the idea of Ducknowl started, right? So me and my co-founder, we were sitting in Chicago in a cafe, and then we were jotting down the idea on a napkin paper, right? That's how it all started. Yeah.
A lot of things have been planned out and started on napkins. It's crazy, but that's when it happens.
Right. Right. So since then, it has been a nice journey. So we first build the product, we build the MVP first, and then we enhance the product. So really, what it does is it helps recruiters and hiring manager to digitize the entire process, entire interviewing and assessment process, and also reduce their time and make it easier and more efficient for them. And we do that by using several tools. So there are multiple tools in the product, starting with resume screening and resume parsing. We start with that. When you get a profile, you get the resume, right? And you want to read the resume. And when you do that manually, it takes a lot of time, right? And imagine like, let's say if you have like 100 resume for a job, that will take you a lot of time to go through those resumes, right? And mostly, most of the people, what they do is they will just look at first top 10 or 20 and just try to hire within that, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, so really, what our tool does is it will identify the resume based upon the keywords, based upon the job description, and it can shortlist the resumes, right? So really, as a recruiter, let's say if I'm getting 100 resumes, I can see my top 20%, 30% resumes, right? So I don't have to like read through all the resumes, right? If the software can tell you which resume has the keywords that you're looking for, or the experience level or education level, right? And based upon that, we have advanced parsing, very structured parsing that can help you to identify that. And with the combination of keyword and advanced parsing, you can see what are the best 10 or 20% resumes for you, right? So instead of like, going through all the resumes, you just do the top one, right? So that's the first step, right? That makes your resume reading faster, resume sorting faster, right? And then second step we have is one-way video interview, right? So what that solves is like your phone calling issue, right? When you have to call candidates on the phone and ask them the same question, that causes you a lot of time, right? And how do you replace that, like, with the digital solution? The answer is one-way video interview. Like what you do is you just set up the questions in the software. Let's say you have like 6, 7 basic questions that you want to send to all the shortlisted candidates. You just set up the question there and you set up the time for the answers and just email it to them. And they will get the email, candidates will get the email and they can submit their response. So what that does is it saves you time in terms of like calling multiple candidates and asking them same questions, right? And you'll get the answer. You can review, you can see candidates' soft skills. You can see how much they're interested in the job, right? And you can also throw some technical question in that, like, some skill-based questions you can throw in that one-way video interview. We do have separate skill assessment tool, but in case, like, if you want to throw any more technical question, you can do that too. But mostly it's like for pre-screening, right? So with the combination of resume parsing and one-way video interview, you will get very nice, refined list of candidates who fit the job, right? And this is without you calling any candidate. You get all these.
Yeah, once the setup is done, this is happening automatically.
Yes. I mean, there's some recruitment engagement, like, you can, you still have to set up the questions. You have to set up the keywords that you're looking for. So the tool can tool can like shortlist the candidates. And now we are adding like an automation process where you can say, okay, if like keywords matches by 70%, then send them the video interview, right? Automatically, right? So you can set up your criteria. We're adding that feature next month, right? So that's the one-way video interview is the second step, right? The third step that we have is assessment test, right? So we have created skill-based assessments, and now we're adding psychometric assessments. So what that does is like, you can send out like, software programming test. You can send out like sales or marketing test or customer support, data entry test, depending upon the job that you're hiring for, right? And you can assess candidates' skill set, right? We have proxy prevention as well. So that would make sure candidate is not cheating when they're doing like online test. Like that's very important, right? You don't want like candidate to have them their friends helping them, right? So really with the combination of these, like resume screening, one-way video interview, and skill assessment, we digitize the entire process, right? From beginning to end. And overall, it becomes more efficient. We have several other features, right, that make things easier. Like if when you have the results, you can share that with your team and hiring managers to get their feedback, right? So like, yeah, so that's like another value added feature, right? So really, I mean, all these steps, like, that we have built in the product, and we also integrate with the ATS, right? So let's say any company or recruiting agency, they're using any applicant tracking system, or they're using some recruiting CRM software. We integrate with those, so you can put that within your existing environment and run the process.
What is
so those are like, yeah, sorry.
So definitely, I would see where the automation of it and the repeatability. I mean, you're also getting good, consistent. You're interviewing every client, every candidate the same. So like sometimes you'll get to a candidate you really like. When you're doing in-person interviews, you really like them. They're very cordial and that kind of thing. And you may skip over questions because you almost don't want to ask them because you don't want to find something that you don't like. I like this because you're going to ask every candidate the same set of questions and get a really good comparison. What's the feedback been from the people who are being recruited? Do they like the kind of asynchronous interview? I mean, I would think it gives them more time to prepare and that kind of thing, but what's their feedback been? Because that's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a great question. When we were starting the product like 3-4 years ago, we were also scared a little bit, right? Would candidates be open to that? Like, would they like it? It turns out like, they love it because it makes their life easier as well. And they see more engagement, from their perspective. They see like, more chances to speak about themselves, right? So candidate response is like very, very high. Like, most depend upon the job and the position. But in general, almost 70 to 80% candidates respond, right? If you send them a one-way interview request. Those who don't respond are really the ones who are not interested, which actually make your list easier, right?
Yeah, it's like one more built-in filtering criteria. I mean, if you want to fill out the form, you're probably not who we're looking for.
Right. Like, imagine like if you're looking for a job and I send you a request, would you do the interview or not? Like, chances are, if you're really looking for something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you will, right? But if you're just like doing a window shopping, like, you already have a job, you're just trying to see what is out there in the market, you may not do it, like, and that's actually another good feedback for recruiter.
No, that makes total sense. So when you're looking at it, like, is it so skills-based taste? I get that. Do you integrate like a personality test in this as well?
Well, we don't integrate personality tests, but we are building our own personality test.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So have you heard of these models for personality like DISC assessment and 16 personality and culture ad?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So these are standard models like that. Anybody can use those models and build their own test for personality. So what we have done is we have hired like expert psychometricians who are building those tests, and we are validating those tests, right? So we are building our own test. We don't have to integrate with any third party because we are interviewing and assessment software. We got to have our own, if you want to stand out in the market, right? So it will give us an advantage, right? Earlier, we were thinking of integrating with like Hogan assessment or like few other like external third party personality test softwares, but then we decided, what, it doesn't make sense for us, right? Like, we gotta build these tests ourselves. It is taking a lot of time and money for us, but I think it's gonna be worth it, right? Once we have those tests in the system.
What about, so you go all the way through, now you're looking to hire and stuff like that. Does it go all the way to the part of doing background checks and those kind of things as well? Is that on the kind of on your playbook?
Yeah, so see, background check, we don't do background check because there are a lot of other services which are doing background check, right? And background check is more after you have made the hiring decision, right? Our software is doing interviewing and assessment, right? From the time you get the resume to the time you make a hiring decision, right? So we are just digitizing that process, right? Background, there are like, tons of other services that people are using, right, for background check. So we are not getting into it, right?
No, that makes sense. I mean, like I said, be good at, you don't have to be all things to all people. Just be good in one
Correct.
niche and make that,
Yeah.
own that.
Right. Yeah. We are actually adding live video interview soon, right? There will be live video interview feature. So if you want to do live video interview in our software, you can do that. You don't have to use Zoom because you need like a specific features for interviews. Like Zoom is like general conferencing system, right? But when it comes to like video call during interviews, you need a lot of other niche features that helps you to run the interview, right? In terms of like feedback, reviews, and history and calendar schedules that we have to build in. So we are building that feature as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much end to end. I mean, you're from the top, so do you post the position and stuff through there, or do you just, I mean, are you on, does it link to job boards and stuff, or do you just put this in, put a link to this position in your post? Like, how do you get your candidates to go to the system?
Yeah. So again, like great question. So really, we are not an ATS. Usually, like ATS do that, right? Like where you add job in the ATS system and then you propagate it to different job boards, right? But what we do is like we have a job page in the system. We create a landing page for the job. And then when you post a job on Indeed or LinkedIn or Monster, you can link it to that job page, right? So when people hit apply, they will come to the job page on Ducknowl. The interesting thing that we have in that job page is we have a video gallery feature.
Really?
So as a recruiter, you can actually add your own video, like trying to sell the job, right? Or you can add like your office video or like your other existing employees video who are talking about that job, right? So what that does is like it increases the conversion, right, from candidates. Like if they see the video along with the job, people don't like to read text these days. We are living in the Instagram world, right? We are living in the TikTok, right? You see how we came from like YouTube, like you've seen that journey. We came from YouTube to like, Instagram, Facebook, and then we went to TikTok, right? So
all
people
in
like to
5
see videos.
years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, so people like, they want to just click that button and see what it is about, right? So that's a very good feature that we have. But like, and that is only like if you're not using an ATS. If you're using an ATS, then you do all those things on the ATS, like in terms of like job page, and then use our software for interviewing and assessment.
Yeah, no, I can imagine where recruiting is soon going to involve, connecting with their social media and searching their social media. I mean, it's just so much now is out.
Yeah, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much. We were planning to add that feature, but we didn't do it. I think sometimes it's too much like invasive in terms of privacy. Like, if recruiters want to do that, they can do their own search, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some things just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Yeah, that's right. Like, that's very important as an entrepreneur, right? Like you have to discern, like, what is that you should do or not, right?
Absolutely. So how do you do like I guess it's sometimes these things are very expensive because you're going to spend a lot of money on if you're paying per test and that kind of thing. It'd be very expensive as people apply or get halfway through the process and stuff like that and fall out. You can spend a lot of money going through these things. How does it, is your model that approach or is it just per job or how does it work?
Yeah, so we have a very good pricing model. Our pricing model is based upon the volume, like how much volume you need, right? Like how many assessments you do in the system, how many video interviewing you would do, right? That's our baseline model, right? So And also, like, it only counts if candidate complete an assessment, right? It doesn't count if you invite somebody and they don't do an assessment, right? We don't count that, right? We only count assessments that were completed by the candidates, right? And so basically, we we come up with a projection, annual projection, like how many assessments you would need. It's not really based upon the job or user seats, mostly based upon like how many assessments you would do in the system, right? That includes video assessment, resume parsing, and then skill assessments and psychometric assessments. And based upon that, like we create like an annual package, that will have the pricing for the annual usage.
Wow. Okay. So that, yeah. So like I said, it's kind of a, that helps eliminate it because like you said, if they don't finish it, then you don't, it doesn't necessarily cost
you. Yeah. Because we want to make it easier for recruiter. We don't want to give them heart attack. Oh, what if I send this and they don't take it? Like, am I going to be charged, right? Because that can affect your decision making, right? Like in terms of like who to invite. We want you to be free in terms of thinking, like, who to invite or not. Like if you think someone is a good candidate, and you should be just inviting them and not worry about the pricing. If they don't do the assessment, we don't charge you. The system doesn't charge you. Yeah.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah. No, this is great. I mean, like I said, I think it's so it's duck and owl. Why the owl wisdom makes total sense. Why the duck? Where did the duck come from?
So there's an interesting story, right? It took us a while to come up with the name. Like me and my co-founder, we love like animals and birds. So we said like, our product gotta have these, birds or animals name, right? And so we first came up with owl because of its like monitoring capability, right? In the night it can see. And but then like, we were looking for like, second word. So duck really, what happened, like, I go to, we have a lake close to our house, and I take my kids there, right? They have like ducks, we feed them. So, I was like, feeding ducks with my kids. And, we noticed like, how they pick stuff, right? And if you throw some garbage, they don't eat it, right? So, so really they're very picky in like, what they pick and eat, right? So I said, oh, wow, this is like, they have this natural intelligence in picking, right? And then I read about duck. I learned that they have like a very good inbuilt filtering mechanism as well in their body, like, the way they like process food, right? So I said, wow, like, it represent our like, filtering, resume picking, and pre-screening process, right? So I said, okay, we'll use duck, right? So that's how we came up with duck. So duck and owl, right? So filtering, pre-screening and monitoring, assessment, right? So that represent our product, capability. And if you look at our logo has like half duck and half owl.
Yeah, I love the logo. I mean, I'm a huge fan of logos. So
thank you. That itself took like around 2 months to design it. Yeah, there were a lot of iteration that we went through.
It's funny the things you can suddenly spend a lot of time and effort on, but you feel like you only get to pick it once. So
correct.
To get it right.
Correct. Yeah.
No, I've been through that a couple of times, and I understand it. Well, that is great. So and this is right in line with your education because you're a mechanical engineer. Is that right?
Well, by trade, I am. Yes, I did my.
You're using your mechanical engineering almost as much as I am.
Yeah. Well, I love I love mechanical engineering. Like I did my bachelor's, and then I did my master's and PhD at Johns Hopkins in mechanical engineering. So I love designing and building systems, but I wanted to be a tech entrepreneur, right? And I could not I didn't have enough money to start like an engineering plant. They require a lot of capital investment. So I switched into software engineering, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, it seems to have been a good switch.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
Works out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it has. Yeah. I mean, I don't regret it. Yeah.
No, I'm like you. I think I think the main thing you learn in engineering is systematic approach to problem solving. And,
Right.
I think that goes across a lot of different industries and a lot of different positions and
It
jobs.
does. It does. I'm very thankful to what I learned in my PhD. It has been very helpful. Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, Piyush, I really appreciate you coming on with us. I'm excited to try it out and see how it goes. I mean, we obviously with Lamin and coaching, we recruit and interview a lot of people for remote positions that we provide to our clients. And like what you're saying, it's arduous, and I'm a terrible interviewer. I think by the time I get in front of a candidate, I'm so anxious to get a position filled.
Right.
And I'm convince them to take the job rather than deciding if this is the right person.
Correct. You try to sell rather than they selling you, right?
Right, exactly. It's like the opposite of what it's supposed to be. They're nervous, and little do they know, I'm just scared to death they're not going to say yes.
Yeah.
But these systems, I think, do a great job that by the time they do speak to me, you have, you're probably 85% likely to have the right candidate. Now it's a matter of, is it a good personality, a good interpersonal match? And I think that's important. But no, this certainly limits it down, because you spend a lot of money getting them onboarded, and it's very expensive for somebody to leave.
Sure, it is. It is like, I was reading this report, like one bad decision, bad hire cost like around $30,000.
Yeah.
Like in general, as an average, like, in the industry, one bad hire cost is equal to almost 30K. That's a lot of money.
And I think the longer it takes to realize they're a bad hire, the more that number grows.
Yeah, that number grows, right?
And the whole time you've got the bad hire, the good hire is not there accomplishing what you wanted to get done.
Yeah, that's another issue, right?
Yeah, and so hiring super important. I mean, you've got to get it.
It is. It took me a while to understand that. Like when I started my company 12 years ago, I was paying more attention in the hiring, but then after 2 years, I slacked. But everybody does, like but then I started to see the results of the bad hire. Then I had to get back into my right process, right? So it's a very important. It's hiring a correct candidate is like getting a good client. It's you have to put in same amount of efforts and process, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I like it, but I love a process, and I love a systematic one thing like that, because I think, like what you're saying, it's it puts some control in there and some good, fair evaluations. And I think some people say, well, you might miss that diamond in the rough. You may, but you might miss them anyway. But it's a game of statistics. I am more likely to find the right person for the right job using an approach similar to this.
Correct. And that's what the tool does. Like, it gets you that data faster, and it's easy to compare, right? And really, take that pressure off your mind, right? Of like calling people, like looking at like, resumes, right? Like you want to just spend your time at the right step. Like you want to spend your more time at the right step.
Right.
Like you don't want to spend your more time at the wrong steps. Like, so and that's what, like, it gives you that relaxation, like, in terms of process, right? And it's actually, since you're talking about data, so another value that you get with this product is it reduces the bias in the system, because everything is there, like, in the dashboard. So, and, you have like keywords, you have percentage, you have results, a skill test, you have ratings and reviews. So everything is by number, like everything is quantified, right? So if your recruiter or somebody else wants to be biased, it's very hard for them to do it. They cannot.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good point. The question is not going to know whether you don't have different questions for different races or different sexes or different things like that. It's all position based, and it's a very flat, fair program, I would think.
Sure. So basically, the tool has a process that you define, and you set up all the questions based upon the job. Once you set it up, you cannot change it based upon the candidate.
Right.
Yeah, you have to have a set process, fixed questions for all the candidates, right? Or if you select a skill test in a job, you have to give it to all the candidates, the same test.
Interesting. And I think that's something that it proves a very it's kind of nobody can question your process in that case either.
Correct. Nobody can question. Even if some candidate raise some concern, like they come and file a lawsuit, say, hey, you have been biased. If you have that dashboard, you can show it to them. See, here it is. I made decisions based upon these results, right? You were low, you were in the ranking, right?
That's right.
I had somebody who was higher in the ranking, right? In terms of results and keywords.
Yeah. That's like me, how tall are you? We're not going to hire anybody over 6'3" because I'm 6'3" and I don't want to have anybody taller than me around. So it's important that we got to have the important questions.
You're like Washington Monument, right? In DC, right? That's
right.
like a condition, right? In DC, you can't have any building taller than Washington Monument.
Right. That's right. Yeah, fragile ego,
Yeah. Right.
No kidding. So all the interviews will be done sitting down. I don't want anybody looking down at me. That's fantastic. Well, Piyush, I appreciate you joining me and talking about it. Like I said, I think we always hear this. There's no good people, or it's hard to find good people. And I think anything like your system that helps us find good people, I think they are out there. I think they're just we've got to know how to find them. We got to know how to let them know that we're looking, and then create places that they want to be, and then you'll find the right people.
Right.
But this is a good way to kind of help filter that crowd from both directions.
Sure.
That's well, fantastic. Well, I wish you luck. It's Ducknowl, and that's DUCKNOWL. And we'll put a link in it in the podcast notes as well. And thank you very much for joining me, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chad. Thanks for hosting it. Yeah.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Have a good one. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Get the Intel. We'll see you next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.